They've been lying to us. For months, WWE has been feeding us storylines, building feuds, and crowning champions under a set of rules that apparently don't even exist anymore. And the person who just blew the lid off this entire conspiracy? Rikishi, the Hall of Famer, just dropped a bomb so massive that it doesn't just affect the bloodline, it changes the entire landscape of WWE as we know it. And the fact that WWE thought they could slip this past us without anyone noticing is absolutely infuriating. Before you dismiss this as another wrestling rumor or clickbait nonsense, understand this: what Rikishi revealed fundamentally breaks the foundation of competitive integrity in WWE. Every match you've watched, every championship you've celebrated, every storyline you've invested in, all of it might have been operating under false pretenses. And when you hear what this new rule actually is, you're going to lose your mind. Let me be crystal clear about something. This isn't about kayfabe. This isn't about working the fans or building heat for a storyline. This is about WWE making fundamental changes to how their entire business operates, changes that affect real contracts, real opportunities, and real careers, and then trying to keep it quiet like we wouldn't figure it out. Well, congratulations WWE, the secret's out, and the wrestling world is about to explode. Here's what Rikishi exposed, and I want you to pay very close attention because this is going to make your blood boil. According to the Samoan legend, WWE has implemented a new rule buried deep in the fine print of contracts and corporate policy that allows management to override any championship victory, any #1 contendership, and any promised opportunity if they determine it doesn't align with corporate storytelling objectives. Read that again. Let it sink in. This means that everything we've been told about earning your spot, about winning matches to get opportunities, about the best wrestler rising to the top, all of it is potentially meaningless if someone in a suit decides your story doesn't fit their narrative. The meritocracy we thought existed? It's been replaced by corporate storytelling mandates that can overrule anything that happens in the ring. And here's the question that should be burning in your mind right now: how many times has this rule already been used without us knowing? Drop your theories in the comments. Rikishi didn't just stumble onto this information. As a father to 2 active WWE superstars and a respected elder in the Bloodline saga, he has access to conversations and documents that most of us never see. When he started noticing inconsistencies in how his sons and other family members were being booked, he started asking questions. The answers he got led him down a rabbit hole that exposed something much bigger than just the Bloodline storyline. According to Rikishi's revelation, this rule was quietly implemented approximately 8 months ago during a broader restructuring of WWE's creative and talent relations departments. It wasn't announced. There was no press release, no explanation to the roster, just a quiet insertion into contract language and company policy that gave executives unprecedented power to manipulate outcomes regardless of what happens in storylines or matches. Think about the implications here. A wrestler could win a #1 contenders match, fair and square, in the middle of the ring, and then have that opportunity stripped away not because they got injured, not because they violated policy, but simply because someone decided their story isn't the story WWE wants to tell right now. How is that different from your boss promising you a promotion, watching you earn it, and then giving it to someone else because they like their story better? But it gets so much worse. This rule apparently extends beyond just championship opportunities. It gives WWE the authority to alter agreed-upon contract provisions, including merchandise deals, appearance schedules, and even creative control clauses that wrestlers negotiated in good faith. Essentially, any promise made to talent can be overridden if management decides it conflicts with their corporate narrative. Let's talk about how this specifically affects the Bloodline, because that's where Rikishi's concerns are centered, and rightfully so. The Bloodline story has been the backbone of WWE programming for years now. Multiple championships, WrestleMania main events, record-breaking segments. This faction has carried the company through multiple eras. The wrestlers involved have dedicated years of their careers to building this legacy. Now imagine being told that despite everything you've accomplished, despite every promise made about your trajectory, despite every assurance about your position in the company, there's a rule that can erase all of it the moment someone in corporate decides to go in a different direction. That's not creative flexibility, that's a betrayal of trust on a fundamental level. Rikishi specifically pointed to recent developments where Bloodline members who were promised certain opportunities suddenly found themselves in completely different positions with no explanation. Matches that were supposedly locked in got changed. Storylines that had been carefully constructed got dropped. Championship pursuits that made logical sense got abandoned. And when questions were asked, the answer was always some vague corporate speak about storytelling evolution. Here's another question for the comments. Which recent WWE storyline change do you think was influenced by this secret rule? The timing of this revelation is particularly suspicious. We're heading into the road to WrestleMania, the biggest event of the year, where storylines should be crystallizing and direction should be clear. Instead, we're finding out that nothing is actually secure, nothing is actually guaranteed, and any storyline could be completely upended not because of what happens on screen, but because of decisions made in boardrooms we never see. This also explains so many bizarre creative decisions over the past several months that left fans scratching their heads. Sudden heel turns that made no sense. Face pushes that were abruptly abandoned. Championship reigns that ended prematurely for no logical storyline reason. We thought it was bad creative. Turns out it might have been this rule being implemented behind the scenes, with corporate mandates overriding storytelling logic. The wrestler's perspective on this is crucial. These are independent contractors who negotiate contracts based on promises about their position in the company, their creative direction, and their earning potential. When you sign a contract that says you'll be pushed as a main event talent, you're making career decisions based on that promise. You're turning down other opportunities. You're restructuring your life. And now we find out there's a rule that can make all those promises meaningless? From a legal standpoint, this raises serious questions about contract enforcement and good faith negotiations. If WWE can unilaterally override contract provisions using this corporate storytelling clause, what protection do talent actually have? What recourse exists when promises aren't kept? These aren't just creative complaints, these are legitimate business and legal concerns that affect people's livelihoods. The fan perspective is equally important. We invest time, money, and emotional energy into these storylines. We buy tickets to live events. We subscribe to streaming services. We purchase merchandise. We do all of this based on an understanding that there's some level of logic and consistency to what we're watching. When that foundation gets undermined by secret rules that can change everything on a corporate whim, it breaks the trust between the product and the audience. Think about how this affects your investment in current storylines. Why should you care about who wins or loses if those results can be overridden by corporate mandate? Why should you get invested in a wrestler's journey to the championship if their opportunity can be pulled regardless of what happens in the ring? Why should any of this matter if nothing is actually real beyond what serves corporate storytelling objectives? What's your honest reaction to finding out about this rule? Are you still invested in WWE storylines? Let me know in the comments. Rikishi's decision to expose this publicly is incredibly brave and potentially career-damaging for his sons. WWE doesn't take kindly to people pulling back the curtain on corporate operations. But as Rikishi explained in his statement, there comes a point where staying silent makes you complicit in something you know is wrong. When you see talent being manipulated, careers being derailed, and fans being deceived, speaking up becomes a moral obligation. The broader wrestling community has started reacting to this revelation, and the responses range from shock to vindication. Many wrestlers, both active and retired, have begun sharing their own experiences that suddenly make sense in light of this new information. Stories about promised pushes that never materialized, assurances about creative direction that evaporated overnight, contract negotiations that seemed solid until suddenly they weren't. Independent wrestling promotions are reportedly watching this situation very carefully, recognizing that if WWE's top talent starts feeling insecure about their opportunities, it could create a significant shift in the industry. Wrestlers who might have stayed with WWE out of loyalty or promised opportunities might start looking elsewhere if they realize those promises can be overridden at any moment. The PR nightmare this creates for WWE cannot be overstated. At a time when the company is trying to position itself as the premier wrestling organization in the world, when they are negotiating massive television deals and expanding globally, this revelation undermines their credibility with both talent and fans. How do you recruit top independent wrestlers when they know their opportunities aren't actually secure? How do you maintain fan investment when storylines aren't actually binding? WWE's response to Rikishi's revelation has been predictably vague and corporate. Standard statements about creative flexibility and entertainment product evolution that don't actually address the fundamental issue. They implemented a rule that gives them unprecedented power over talent and storylines, and they did it quietly, hoping no one would notice or care. But we notice, and we care, because this isn't just about the bloodline or Rikishi's sons or any individual wrestler. This is about the integrity of the entire product. This is about whether anything we watch actually matters. This is about whether WWE respects its talent and its audience enough to operate with transparency and good faith. Here's what needs to happen. WWE needs to publicly acknowledge this rule, explain exactly how it works, and clarify what protections exist for talent. They need to address how this affects existing contracts and whether wrestlers have any recourse when promises aren't kept. They need to explain to fans why we should continue investing in storylines that can be arbitrarily changed by corporate mandate. Most importantly, the wrestling community, talent, fans, media needs to hold WWE accountable. This can't be something that gets memory hold in the next news cycle. This fundamentally changes how we understand and engage with WWE programming, and pretending it doesn't exist won't make it go away. So here's my final challenge to all of you. Are you going to accept this? Are you going to keep watching, keep buying, keep investing in a product that apparently operates under secret rules designed to give corporate complete control regardless of what happens on screen? Or are you going to demand transparency, accountability, and respect for both talent and audience? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video if you think people need to know what's really going on. And let me know, does this change how you watch WWE, or are you willing to overlook it for the sake of entertainment? The revolution starts with information. Rikishi gave us the information. Now what are we going to do with it?